Folks, I'm not gonna lie to you. I went to a 4th of July party last night, and I think someone put something in my drink. Because, am I the only person who sees that Carnage is getting his own book? Anyone else see that? Yes, hi there folks, it's me, Aaron, Professor Thorgy, your guide to all things geeky, and, as I said in the last episode, every single one of the new Marvel books, or at least 45 of the new Marvel books, that they're going to be launching this fall have now been revealed, and I'm going to be making episodes that are chronicling each of these books, going through them title by title, and in case you missed the previous episode, it's right there, you can look at it. That was all about the Avenger books. I said I was going to be making 3 of these episodes, but then they started to run kind of long, so instead I'm making 5. So yeah, more content for you guys. Also, it means more videos for me, which means more exposure and more hits. So hey, it's a win-win. Hey, at least I'm being honest about it. But yes, today's episode is all about the Spider-Man titles that are being launched. So let's go through each of them one by one, and let's go ahead and just start with the one that I mentioned at the top. Carnage is getting his own book. This is the biggest surprise out of this list. I think that's an understatement. But it's being written by Gerry Conway, which Gerry Conway is an old school guy. He's one of the guys who co-created The Punisher all the way back in the 70s, so he's been around for a long time. And most guys who have been around for a long time, no offense, but they tend to lose their touch. But Gerry Conway has kept writing. In fact, he is currently writing a mini-series for Spider-Man that's all about big gang war. And I've been reading it, and it's alright, so he's still got talent. It's being drawn by Mike Perkins. He does good dark stuff. Covers are by Mike Del Mundo. Mike Del Mundo is an amazing artist, and if he was doing the interiors, I wouldn't care what character this was about. I would gladly read it. But, I don't know, this is weird to me because when I was a teenager, I loved Carnage. I did. I thought he was a great villain. I thought he was an amazing villain. But as I got older, I just kind of went like, wow, there isn't really a lot to this guy. Like, the older that I got, the more I kind of like looked at him and was like, well, you're really just crazy. That's your thing. And you make sharp weapons. Alright, whatever. Like, he lost all appeal to me as I got older, and I've seen in my story that most of the fans of him are teenagers, so I think there's something about him that just speaks specifically to that age group, and that's fine. Everybody gets different books at different age groups, so that's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. So, yeah, this isn't really going to appeal to me that much. In fact, I'll be honest with you, out of all the books that Marvel's launching, this is the one that I'm least excited about. But I do work in a comic book store, and about twice a week, someone comes into my store going, yo, man, what you got about Carnage? What you got about my favorite psychopath, Carnage? And I was like, he's that famous? Jeez, alright, fine, whatever. It's the same one trait he's always had. There you go, enjoy. So now I'm going to actually have an answer for them. When they come in, I'm going to be able to go, well, he has an ongoing series. Enjoy. So, alright, cool, Marvel. I understand it. You know, not a book that I would have had, but I get how the omelet is made. Next up, Spider-Man 2099. Okay, this book has already been around. Peter David is still writing it. Good, that's his baby. He created the character. He's been with him this whole time. Good, I'm glad that he's sticking around. And I enjoy the current series. But the current series is all about him in the present. He is stuck in the past, by which I mean our present. And I enjoy that. I dig seeing that he's like a man out of time. That's really cool. But looking at this, like the little tagline is smack to the future, which makes it sound like he is returning back to the future, so alright, that had to happen eventually, so okay, cool, whatever, as long as they can keep that going. One thing to note though is that I've always loved the old Spider-Man 2099 costume. In fact, it's one of the most, like, the people who know it, not a lot of people know it, but the people who do know it, they love that costume. They think it's fantastic. And they're completely changing it. It looks very different, and I like this one too. I think this actually looks pretty dope. I can't wait to go to Comic-Con and see people cosplaying this. That'll be fantastic. So, alright, cool. Next we have Web Warriors, and it is that main group of characters from the Spider-Verse event. They're all teaming up, and it says, Defending the Spider-Verse, and if you look closely at it, there's like newspapers flying around, and it shows like missing pictures of the dead Spider-Man from the alternate realities that were in Spider-Verse. Man, comics are confusing sometimes. But yeah, sorry for anyone who didn't read Spider-Verse. You might just want to skip over this part. But yeah, so it looks to me like they're going to be traveling through the multiverse, trying to help out all the dimensions where their Spider-Man died. So this is pretty cool for multiple reasons. Number one, it kind of confirms that the multiverse will still exist after Secret Wars. At the beginning of Secret Wars, the entire multiverse was destroyed, and there was no multiverse left. That was it. Everything was gone. And a lot of people thought, okay, so they're just flat out getting rid of that. They're getting rid of all their alternate realities. And looking at this makes it seem like, okay, maybe they're not. Maybe it is going to stick around. Which is cool because, Marvel, you've got a great multiverse. You have got fantastic alternate realities. Why would you want to get rid of them? So I think it's really cool to see that sticking around. Plus, the other thing that I'm excited about for this is that at the end of Spider-Verse, spoilers, Kane was revealed to still be alive, and he was kind of trapped in that zero dimension with the other Web Warrior characters. So if they're all coming back, there's a chance he'll be coming back. So I got my fingers crossed on that one, because if you didn't read the Kane Scarlet Spider series, holy cow, that was one of the best books Marvel was putting out at that point. I love that series so much. So if he can come back, and maybe also his plucky young sidekick Araceli as well, then man, I am down for this book. Next up after that, this is the one that when I turned the page in that magazine, my jaw just dropped. And I've seen a lot of people upset about this on the internet, and I don't care. I'm sorry, because this looks fantastic to me. This looks awesome. SpiderWoman is coming back with the exact same creative team of Dennis Hopeless on writing and Javier Rodriguez on art, and I love that book. I'm not gonna lie. Like, in the beginning it was a little bit because it had to tie in with the whole Spider-Verse event, and also because Greg Land was drawing it, and I'm not gonna, like, you know, rag on Greg Land, but he was definitely not the fit for that book, or any book with a female protagonist. And, oh god, Greg Land, why? But no, Javier Rodriguez came in after that story arc, and Diz Hopeless completely changed the character around, like got her back more to her roots of being a spy, except that now she was a detective, which, close enough. And I love it. Javier Rodriguez is amazing on the art. Diz Hopeless gets that character. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it might be my favorite book that Marvel is putting out right now. And that is saying a lot, because I love a lot of what Marvel's doing, and this might be my favorite one. So to see those guys are still on, perfect, wonderful. But here's the shocker. Actually no, that's the shocker. Here's the surprise. She's pregnant. And she's like really far along. Like, she's got a massive baby bump going on there, and yeah, this is the thing that everybody was freaking out on the internet. It's like, oh god, how could you do this to our character? How could you do this to one of my favorite characters? I love that they're doing this to Jess. I do. I really love that they're doing it to this character because multiple reasons. One, I have always said that Marvel needs to progress their characters forward. They try and keep their characters stuck at one point in their life forever because they're afraid that if they move forward, then, hey, the book could end, or people could not like this change. And how do you go back? That's a difficult thing to do. We all saw that with Spider-Man One More Day, which was the worst thing that Marvel ever did. I still stand by that. But by having Jessica Drew be pregnant and having a child, that means she actually is moving forward. They are doing with her what I have said they need to do with so many characters, and I love that. I look forward to that so much. And also, just thinking about Jess's personality. Jess hates children. That's been one of those things that Brian Michael Bendis established in his New Avengers run, is that she is creeped out by children. They are creepy little monsters to her. So now she's going to have one of her own. And that is tons of fun in my mind. I can't wait to see what they do with that. And the other thing is that Jess is, yeah, she's been on the Avengers, but she is a bit of a loner. Like, she is a spy. She's a detective. She prefers to work alone. And now she's got this person around at all times that depends on her. And it's like, oh, okay, she's going to have to learn how to be a mother. That's going to be a great character progression. That's going to be a great story. I can't wait to see that. And I'm out of breath. Whew. So yeah, that's like the #1 book out of all these Spider books that I'm looking forward to. But we're not done yet. There's some more, and we'll just go through some of the quick ones right now. Spider-Man, starring Miles Morales, still being written by Brian Michael Bendis, drawn by Sarah Pichelli, who is the one of the people who helped create Spider-Man. And yeah, alright, I've been enjoying it. It's the exact same book. We all know what's going to happen with him. He's going to be in the regular Marvel Universe. Fine, cool, alright. It's one of the few things Bendis is writing right now that I actually still enjoy. So go with it, man. Alright, no problem there. No change. Moving on. Speaking of books that have no change going on, Silk #1, it's coming back. I love the Silk book. It is actually my #1 biggest surprise of all the books Marvel has right now, because I didn't like Silk when Dan Slott was writing her on Amazing Spider-Man. I didn't like her on that book. I thought he was doing a terrible job writing her. But he ain't writing the Silk book. Robbie Thompson is writing it, and Stacey Lee is drawing it. I think that the two of them combined have given her such personality. They have really crafted her into a unique character, and I love what they have done with her. She is so much fun in that book. And this one, yeah, it's the exact same people who are working on, although the preview image we got, it's her robbing a bank, and it says the Sinister Silk underneath. So it implies that she's turning to the bad side. I mean, 8 months are jumping between now and the last time that we saw her, so yeah, some stuff can change in that time. But here's the thing. I don't think she's actually turning evil. If you've been reading the Soap book, her number one enemy is the Black Cat, and the Black Cat is trying to become like the number one crime lord of New York City. And if you ask me, I think what's going to happen is that she will be going undercover with the Black Cat. That, you know, she will be trying to like infiltrate her ranks and find out stuff about her. So I don't think she's actually becoming evil. I think this is just a further progression of her Black Cat rivalry thing going on. So that sounds cool to me. Again, speaking of books that are not changing at all, Spider-Gwen is coming back. It is still being written by Jason Latour, still being drawn by Robbie Rodriguez. It is not changing at all. Or is it? Okay, here's the thing. Earlier in this episode, I said, yes, the multiverse is still going to exist. But here's the thing about that. I don't know for certain that it is. And the tagline on this book says The Secret History of Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker. And here's the thing. We already kind of got the backstory on Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker in her alternate reality in the Spider-Gwen book so far. And I was looking at that, I was like, well, why are you going to have to give her origin story again? But then I thought about it. What if they do merge the realities? What if they merge the realities and they make it so that Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker, now they didn't date because now Peter, he is like 30 years old and this Gwen Stacy is like 16, so that would be creepy and weird and wrong and ew. But what if they merge those realities so they now have a totally different backstory and they have to retell it, and that's why it's called The Secret History of Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker. I don't think that's going to happen. I would say there's like a 3% chance. There's like that big a chance of it happening. But that is just a random thought that went through my mind. And I am now sending it out to you to freak you all out. Enjoy. I'm just kidding. I'm not trying to freak anybody out. It's just a thought that went through my mind. Like I said, the odds of it happening are like that big. So don't even worry about it. More than likely, the book is going to remain exactly the same. Or is it? And now, the final Spider-Man book that's coming out, Amazing Spider-Man #1, with art by Giuseppe Camuncoli, which, by the way, I fully apologize for butchering that name. I know I did. I'm so sorry. And being written by Dan Slott. Okay, Dan, Mr. Slott, big fan. That Silver Surfer book you're putting out right now? Oh my gosh, it's so good. You are so good on that book. That Old Thing series that you did, man, one of the most underrated series that Marvel has ever put out. Avengers Initiative, you killed it on that book. You're so good at it. You're Spider-Man. You have done some great stuff on Spider-Man. Spider Island, in my mind, as a die-hard Spidey fan, I'm going to put Spider Island up there with my top 10 favorite Spider-Man stories. Superior Spider-Man, listen, I might not have been into it might not have been my thing, but I saw all the fans who loved that book. I saw how it energized that character, so I can't deny that. And Spider-Verse, wow, one of the biggest things that someone has ever done for Spider-Man. So good. I cannot believe that you pulled that off. Way to go. Get the off this book. Listen, Dan, I know that you love this character, and like I said, you've done some great stuff on the book, but have you ever been watching a TV series, and it was really good, and then it peaked, and then it kept going for like 5 to 6 to even 7 seasons after it peaked, and it just got terrible, like they just kept changing stuff just to try and keep it lively. They added a kid in there for no reason. They had one of the characters move away and they're like, well, here's a new character that looks just like him and does the exact same stuff. And they're just so desperate to hold on to it. You're becoming that show. You've become Happy Days, Dan Slott. No one's gonna get that reference. You've become that 70s show, Dan Slott. You set up a lot of stuff in your Spider-Man run. And you know what? It's all happened. You have finished every story that you started. The only thing you have left is that you left in there like one little tiny thing about how Doc Ock could possibly come back, which, don't do that. You gave him a send-off. It's over with. The character's gone. Do not get so desperate to hold on to what you've done that you're like, well, I know I fully tied up that character, but let's bring him back one more time. No! I get it. I do. You love this character. Hell, I love this character. If you put me on Spider-Man, I'd probably like chain myself to the desk at Marvel and never want to leave. I fully get it. You gotta get out, man. I'm sorry. You had Spider Island. Amazing. Got to the root of who Peter Parker is. Superior Spider-Man. Wow. You did a great story with one of Spidey's biggest characters, with one of his biggest villains. You had a full arc with that guy, really spotlighted him, and then once again, you got back to the root of who Peter Parker is. And then you had Spider-Verse, which showed what makes Spider-Man special, even among other Spider-Men. And you went to the spider freaking multiverse and got to the root of his whole cosmic origin. You have done stuff that no creator could ever do. You have to leave on top now.
All right, that's it for me. We're going, everybody.
What was that? What's that?
Showmanship. George is trying to get out on a high note.
And the reason why I'm really saying this is because, yeah, I talked about those 3 great things that you have done on this series. But there was a lot of stuff in between those 3 things that was like, what on earth are you doing? Whenever you have an idea of where you want to take this character, awesome, you're nailing, way to go. Whenever you're doing the stuff in between all of that, no. And when I look at this, the preview image we get shows that he's going to be like a spy now, that he's going to be like, you know, it looks like he's James Bonding it around the world, he's got the super spy car. And listen, one of the things I love that you did on this book is that you did embrace Spidey's science side. I love that. I think too many people ignore that. But this to me just looks like, what are you doing? Like, you are getting so far away from what Spider-Man is that I don't even recognize this anymore. Like, I know you took him through a big cosmic adventure, but I mean, even that was tied into like what makes Spidey Spidey. This, I'm just like, so when did he become Nick Fury? Also, the spider car. Dude, this is one of the things that you've had a problem with in your run on Spider-Man, is that you embrace the goofy stuff too much. I know you love the goofy stuff, and I love the goofy stuff, it's great. But you embrace that stuff a tad too much, to the point where it's like, you're just kind of making him look like a clown. And bringing back the spider car and trying to make it cool now just reminds me of how corny and cheesy that was. And I know that I said that I love to see characters change and grow and progress, but I look at this and I'm like, this isn't really progression. Like, Spidey should grow and mature for who he is. This looks like a totally different person now. I know you're probably thinking, hey, I've got an idea of how this is all gonna work out, but man, you've had enough ideas. It's time for someone else to get in there. I hate saying that. It is hard to accept that you have now gone through your arc as a writer, but you have, man. It's over with. However, as I said in that video that I made in which I talked about the idea of Miles coming into the regular Marvel Universe, I talked about how I would love to see them finally take this as an opportunity to age Peter and have him mature and grow up, because for the longest time they've wanted to stick that whole idea of, no, Peter's a young guy. Peter's like, he's a kid still. He was one of our first kid characters. We're going to hold on to that. And it just kind of becomes pathetic after a while of seeing this grown-ass man still kind of being that childish. I'm not talking about Peter making jokes. Not at all. Not at all. I love that. That's one of his main things. I'm talking about him just kind of acting like a screw-up. And I was talking about how if Miles is there, then you have a new kid. You have a new kid, Spider-Man, and Peter can finally mature and grow. So, here's the thing. I do definitely think that Spidey should be more mature and definitely have more responsibilities with Miles in there. He should be acting more like an adult. He should be saying more like, hey, I am a super scientist. I should be doing these things. And damn, Slott, you have done that on your book. When he led the Avengers against Doc Ock's Sinister Six, hey, you did that. Good for you. I'm glad to see that you are embracing that. So maybe there's a chance that this could be what's happening. Like I said, it's a little bit weird. It does not look like what would happen if Spidey actually embraced that to me. It does just look too odd. But I will say, if I pick up that first issue and the first page is him remarrying Mary Jane and saying, I'm an adult, it's time for me to have a wife, I'm all on board. You can write that book forever. I will drop all complaints forever. If you pull that off, perfect. However, I do know how you love to screw with your fans. I do know how you love to kind of, let's just be honest, be a dick to your fans sometimes. If I pick up that book and the first page is Mary Jane marrying someone else and already pregnant with their kid, I'm sorry, but I'm dropping that book for good. I can't deal with it anymore, because I can't deal with just being teased on that character anymore. I can't deal with seeing other characters change and progress and yet still just constantly being teased with, yeah man, that's the thing you want? Well, we're not gonna give it to you. Well, maybe we are. No, we're not. Oh man, that rant went on way longer than it should have. I don't even know what I was saying there towards the end. But anyway, I thank you guys for tuning into this episode, and I apologize to anybody out there who is a damn Slott fan. As I said, so am I. Just, you know, no, stop. Not getting back into that rant again. I thank you guys for tuning into this episode. Let me know in the comments down below which of these Spider-Man books you're most looking forward to, and if you could pick another Spider character to give a book to, who would you give it to? Leave that down there in the comments below, and if you want to see the first episode I did talking about all the Avenger books that are being launched, click on it right there. Also, follow me on Twitter and Tumblr for more updates, or just send me suggestions for future videos. Leave those right down there. And I thank you guys for tuning in. Whew, I desperately need to recharge on some water right now because my throat is parched. Bye, everyone.